Rodney, there's a lot to get to, and you and I had the conversation on PFTPM several weeks ago about the realities of the pandemic and the concerns that it will create for players who find themselves in a locker room, on a practice field, in a game. And you hit the nail on the head. And we've seen 25 or more players just this week decide they're not going to play at all this year, including 6 members of the Patriots. How surprised were you by the developments?
I'm not really surprised, and I think this is really bad news for the National Football League, and I applaud these young men leaving $8 million, leaving millions of dollars on the table, and understanding perspective, understanding what's important, family, making sure that they don't, do anything to bring something home to their kids. I mean, you look at Marcus Cannon from the Patriots; he's a cancer survivor. Hightower and Vitale both have newborn babies. You look at Patrick Chung; he has a baby on the way. So it's a lot of these dudes looking at their family situations and saying, look, I love football. I've made a lot of money. I'm financially stable. I'm going to step away from the game a year and see what happens.
Rodney, so, all right, I want to hear your thought here. Cause I'm a guy that's like, I would play if I didn't have some huge health issue. You're right. If my wife had a child or something like that, I don't know. Maybe I would think about it certainly then, but I want to know, you, Rodney Harrison, who I know loves football, like obsessed, psycho, New England Patriots, do your job. Would you play football in the 2020 season as it sits right now?
Absolutely not.
No,
because
you wouldn't.
As much as I love football, I love my family 100 times more. And, you look at a lot of these players, if they're financially okay, they don't mind sitting out. They don't mind, because you think about a guy like Hightower, he's had some injuries. This year gives him the opportunity to sit out, rest his body, rest his mental, and figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his career.
And here's the question, though, Rodney, and Chris and I were talking about this earlier. We know how football goes. If you're not there, you're out of sight, you're out of mind. The next man up gets a chance to impress Bill Belichick. Come next year, when Dante Hightower shows up with an $8 million salary, if the guy who takes his place, dollar for dollar, is better, and we've seen Belichick be ruthless in that regard, he'll go with the younger guy, he'll go with the cheaper guy. Do you run the risk of coming back to a job that's been taken next year?
Mike, they're going to bring in talent every single year. They're always bringing in newer, younger guys, fresher guys to try to steal your position, to try to get somebody cheaper. At the end of the day, Hightower's not worried about that. If he can leave $8 million on the table, then I think he has a lot of money in the bank. And even more so than that, it's about your health. The most important thing is about your health. You can play another year of football. He can become a free agent, get released by the Patriots, and go sign with the Miami Dolphins for a $10 million signing bonus. I don't worry about the money for Hightower, but I just applaud these young men for stepping up. And I do believe that during the course of training camp and during the course of the season, you're going to see more guys get infected, and you're going to see more guys willing to walk away.
So what does this mean for their defense in New England? I mean, listen, I worked there and played against, you guys. You were hurt once. It's one of the more complicated defenses in football, right? I mean, there's a lot of communication. I hear Belichick talk all the time like nobody knows the defense better than, Hightower and Patrick Chung. Will this handicap them a little bit about maybe the amount of defense or things they'll do on the field, Rodney?
Well, I mean, I think they're going to continue to do what they do. But when you don't have Hightower, when you don't have Patrick Chung, two guys that are definitely, you talk about communication, I think that's the strength of their defense. And what they do is communicate. They do so many things. And you look at Hightower. Hightower is really an underrated guy. He doesn't have great speed from sideline to sideline, but he's very instinctual. This guy makes a lot of big plays in the biggest moments of the games. He can blitz. He can rush off the edge. He can drop in coverage. And you look at Patrick Chung. Patrick Chung has been one of the most versatile, one of the best defensive players in the National Football League. What he meant for the Patriots over all these years, what he's been able to do. I tell you this, Chris, without Patrick Chung, the Patriots would have been hard-pressed to win those Super Bowls that he was involved in.
And, Rodney, here's the reality. I mean, the Patriots have been hit harder than anyone with the opt-outs so far, but it seems to me there's no coach in the NFL better suited to roll with the punches, next man up, no excuses, no woe is us. We're going to plug these holes. We're going to coach these guys up. We're going to get them ready to go. Do you expect when it's all said and done, a dramatic drop-off, given that it's Bill Belichick, finding replacements, getting those guys in the best position possible. They still got Cam Newton. They still got other great players, and they still have Bill Belichick. Do you think the Patriots ultimately are going to be affected by this in a negative way?
I think it's going to take time for their defense to get back to what it was last year, because you're going to incorporate some new guys. You've lost some guys. But I still think this is going to be a really good defense. They have cohesion in the secondary. They have excellent coaching. And I think Belichick's going to keep it relatively simple until guys are able to pick up the system. Some of the new young guys, linebackers, the young safety that came through. I think he's going to keep it simple and allow those guys to play free and play fast. But the most important thing is making sure that communication is on point and that you continue to develop depth at all those defensive positions.
All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.